There's something truly powerful about knowing your presence leaves a mark so deep that when you're not around, people feel it. It's not about manipulation, and it's not about playing games. It's about recognizing your own worth and stepping into a place where your energy speaks louder than words ever could. Trust me, I've been on both sides of this equation. I've been the one who chased, trying desperately to hold on to connections that slipped through my fingers. And I've also been the one who quietly stepped back, only to find that my absence spoke volumes. Here's the truth. People don't miss what's ordinary, predictable, or always available. Think about it. We cherish what feels meaningful, what adds value to our lives, what stands out. That kind of impact doesn't come from shouting for attention or constantly being in someone's face. It comes from subtlety, self-respect, and a quiet kind of confidence that speaks for itself. And that's what I want to share with you. How to cultivate that energy, not by trying harder, but by understanding the beauty of stepping back and letting your presence do the work. Let me be honest with you, this isn't easy at first. I've made the mistake of overcompensating, texting too much, explaining myself endlessly, bending over backward to keep someone's attention. It felt like if I wasn't constantly reminding them I existed, they'd forget about me. But do you know what happened? It backfired. Instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them further away. And I was left feeling empty, questioning my worth, wondering what I'd done wrong. It wasn't until I learned to value my time, my energy, and my presence that everything changed. Here's what I realized. When you show people that you respect yourself enough to step back, they notice. They start to see you differently. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to replace. And the beautiful thing is, this shift doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. You stop seeking validation from the outside world and start finding it within. You realize that your worth isn't tied to how often someone texts you back or how much attention you get. Your worth is something you carry inside, and when you know that, others can't help but notice. But let's address the elephant in the room. Stepping back can feel scary. It's natural to worry that if you pull away, people might not notice, or worse, they might not care. That fear is real, and I've felt it too. But here's the thing. The people who truly value you will feel your absence. They'll miss the way you make them laugh, the way you listen, the way you bring something unique into their world. And the ones who don't? They were never meant to hold a permanent place in your life to begin with. This isn't about rejecting people or cutting them off. It's about creating balance, giving just enough of yourself to be present and meaningful, but not so much that you lose sight of your own needs. It's about understanding that your presence is a gift, not something to be taken for granted. And when you treat it that way, others will too. Now, let's talk about what happens when you step into this mindset. You start to notice shifts, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you carry yourself. You feel lighter, freer, more grounded. You stop overthinking every interaction, wondering if you said the right thing or if they'll call you back. Instead, you focus on being your best self, knowing that the right people will naturally be drawn to you. And when you do show up, you do it with intention, making every moment count. I've seen this play out in my own life. There was a time when I felt like I was constantly chasing approval, chasing connections, chasing validation. It left me exhausted and unfulfilled. But when I started stepping back, something incredible happened. People began to notice my absence. They reached out, wondering why I wasn't as available, why I wasn't bending over backward anymore. It wasn't because I was trying to make them miss me. It was because I finally understood my own value. And let me tell you, that realization is life-changing. But this isn't just about relationships. This mindset can apply to every area of your life: work, friendships, even your relationship with yourself. When you learn to strike the right balance between presence and absence, you start to see the bigger picture. You realize that sometimes less really is more. You don't have to overextend yourself to prove your worth. You don't have to say yes to every request or show up to every event. Your value doesn't diminish when you step back. It shines even brighter. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. It's not about reinventing yourself or putting on a show. It's about making small, intentional shifts that have a profound impact. For example, instead of always being the one to initiate conversations, let them come to you. Instead of saying yes out of obligation, give yourself permission to say no. Instead of being available 24/7, carve out time for yourself, time to recharge, reflect, and grow. These small changes send a powerful message. You value yourself, and others should too. And let me tell you, when you start valuing yourself this way, something magical happens. You stop worrying about whether people will miss you because you know they will. Not because you forced it, but because you've become someone worth missing. Someone who brings value, joy, and meaning into their lives, not by shouting for attention, but by simply being you. So, as we begin this journey together, I want you to take a moment to reflect. Think about the way you've shown up in your relationships, your friendships, your day-to-day life. Are you constantly giving, constantly showing up, constantly trying to prove yourself? Or are you giving yourself permission to step back, to breathe, to let your presence speak for itself? What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory, it's a way of life. It's a mindset that allows you to find peace in your own company, strength in your own silence, and confidence in your own worth. It's about learning to trust that your absence can be just as powerful as your presence, if not more so. And once you embrace this, you'll find that the right people, the ones who truly matter, will feel your absence in ways you never imagined. So let's take this step together. Let's explore how you can create impact, connection, and meaning, not by saying more, but by showing up differently. You've got this, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Let me take you deeper into this. If there's one thing I've learned about human connections, it's that too much presence can sometimes do more harm than good. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? We grow up being told to show up, to stay close, to always be there for the people we care about. But the truth is, when you're constantly available, your presence can start to feel ordinary. It's not because people don't value you, it's because they don't have the opportunity to realize your full impact. This is where the power of absence comes in. Absence isn't about disappearing or withholding. It's about creating space, not just for others to miss you, but for yourself to reflect and recharge. When you master this art, everything changes. People begin to notice your presence in ways they never did before. They begin to appreciate what you bring into their lives because they finally feel the weight of what it's like when you're not there. Let's explore why this works so powerfully and how you can use it to elevate your relationships, your sense of self, and even your inner peace. I've seen this principle play out time and time again, and every time it amazes me. Think about it. When something is rare, it feels more valuable. It's not just about physical presence, it's about emotional presence, availability, and how often you share your energy. When you're always there, people can start to take you for granted without even realizing it. But when you step back, even just a little, it creates a shift. That space you create gives people room to reflect on what you mean to them. This isn't about playing games or manipulating feelings. It's about honoring your own time and energy. When you learn to step back with intention, you're sending a silent yet powerful message. I value myself, and I trust that others will too. That message isn't spoken, it's felt. And it's in that feeling where the magic happens. Absence also creates clarity. When you're always present, emotions can become clouded. People might get so used to you being there that they stop noticing the unique energy you bring. But when you step back, it's like clearing the air. They start to feel your absence, not in a negative way, but in a way that makes them recognize your value. And here's where Stoic wisdom plays a beautiful role. Absence, when done with intention, isn't about creating pain or longing. It's about fostering appreciation and deepening connections. For me, stepping back wasn't always easy. I used to feel like I had to be everything for everyone, all the time. I thought that by always being available, I was showing my care and commitment. But all it did was drain me and make my presence less impactful. It wasn't until I started practicing intentional absence that I realized its true power. I began to see how people noticed the moments I wasn't there and how it made them value the moments I was. It wasn't about being needed, it was about being cherished. There's something transformative about the space you create through absence. It gives others the opportunity to think about you in ways they might not when you're constantly around. When you step back, you're allowing room for curiosity and reflection to grow. You're letting people miss your laugh, your insights, your presence in their lives. And it's in that missing that true appreciation is born. But this isn't just about others, it's also about you. Absence gives you the space to reconnect with yourself. When you're always giving, always showing up, always making yourself available, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs. Stepping back allows you to recharge, reflect, and realign with your values. It's in that space that you rediscover your strength and learn to set boundaries that honor your worth. One of the most powerful things I've discovered about absence is its ability to reset dynamics. When you're always there, people can sometimes fall into patterns of behavior without even realizing it. They might assume you'll always be available, that you'll always say yes, that you'll always show up. But when you step back, those patterns get disrupted. People start to reevaluate how they've been showing up for you. They start to see the ways they might have taken you for granted, and they adjust accordingly. This isn't about creating guilt or resentment. It's about fostering mutual respect. When you respect yourself enough to create space, others will begin to respect you in the same way. And the beauty of this is that it doesn't require words. You don't have to announce your absence or explain it. The act of stepping back speaks for itself, and it does so with a quiet strength that words could never capture. I want to emphasize that absence doesn't mean detachment. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop showing up when it matters. It means being mindful about how and when you show up, making your presence intentional and meaningful. It's about quality over quantity. When you're intentional with your time, people feel the difference. They feel the energy and focus you bring to your interactions, and that's what makes your presence so impactful. There's also a profound lesson in patience that comes with absence. When you step back, you're trusting the process. You're letting things unfold naturally instead of forcing them. This trust is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, the understanding that you can't control how others respond, but you can control how you show up. By stepping back, you're demonstrating that trust, not just to others, but to yourself. What's truly remarkable is how absence can strengthen relationships. When people miss you, they begin to see the ways you add value to their lives. They start to appreciate the unique light you bring into their world. And when you come back into their space, it's not just a return, it's a renewal. Your presence feels fresh, vibrant, and deeply appreciated because they've had time to recognize its worth. I've learned that the most impactful presence is one that's rooted in self-respect. When you value yourself, others will naturally value you too. Absence isn't about disappearing, it's about showing up differently. It's about creating space for appreciation to grow and for connections to deepen. And it's about trusting that the right people will feel your absence in ways that matter. Let this be your reminder. You don't have to chase, overextend, or prove your worth to anyone. Your presence is a gift, and your absence, when used intentionally, is just as powerful. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what's meaningful. When you step back with purpose, you're not just creating space for others to miss you, you're creating space for yourself to thrive. And in that space, everything becomes clearer, stronger, and more aligned with who you truly are. Let's take this deeper. If absence creates space for others to value you, what fills that space? What makes someone feel your presence even when you're not physically there? It's not the words you've said or the gestures you've made, it's the energy you carry within you. That energy, the calm, grounded, unshakable confidence, comes from one place: inner peace. And here's the truth I've learned through my own experiences. The most magnetic people aren't the loudest or the flashiest. They're the ones who radiate a silent, effortless confidence that draws people in without them even trying. That kind of energy doesn't come from external validation. It's built from the inside out. I've felt it in my own life. When I was younger, I thought confidence came from achievements, from being the smartest person in the room, or from having people's approval. But the more I chased those things, the more restless I became. It was exhausting, and worst of all, it was empty. Every achievement, every compliment, every approval felt fleeting, like sand slipping through my fingers. I realized that no matter how much I gained on the outside, I'd never feel secure until I addressed what was missing on the inside. That's where Stoicism became my guide. The Stoics understood that true confidence comes from mastering your mind and emotions, not from controlling what happens around you. When you cultivate inner peace, it shows. It shows in how you handle challenges, how you treat others, and how you carry yourself. And here's the beautiful part. When you exude this quiet confidence, people notice. They can't help but be drawn to you, not because you're doing anything extraordinary, but because you've become someone who stands out simply by being centered. The foundation of inner peace starts with knowing what you can and cannot control. This was a game changer for me. I used to waste so much energy trying to control outcomes, trying to make people like me, trying to avoid rejection or disappointment. But the Stoics taught me that peace doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from letting go of what's outside your control and focusing on what's within it. This shift isn't easy at first. It takes practice. But once you stop trying to micromanage the world and start focusing on your own reactions, a weight lifts off your shoulders. You realize that you don't have to carry everything. You only need to carry yourself with grace and composure. One of the most powerful tools I've learned to cultivate this inner peace is self-reflection. The Stoics called this nightly exercise a review of the day, and it's as simple as it is transformative. At the end of each day, take a moment to sit quietly and ask yourself, what went well? What could I have done better? Where did I let my emotions get the better of me? This isn't about beating yourself up or dwelling on mistakes. It's about learning. Each time you reflect, you get a little clearer, a little more aligned with who you want to be, and that clarity becomes the foundation of your confidence. Another essential aspect of inner peace is emotional independence. This means not tying your sense of self-worth to how others treat you. I'll admit, this was a tough lesson for me. I used to feel crushed when someone didn't respond the way I hoped, whether it was a friend, a boss, or even a stranger. But over time, I realized that relying on others for validation was like building a house on shifting sands. The Stoics taught me to find my worth within myself, not in how others perceive me. This shift doesn't happen overnight. But each step you take toward emotional independence makes you stronger, more grounded, and less affected by the ups and downs of life. Inner peace also requires self-acceptance. For years, I fought against my flaws, trying to hide them or pretend they didn't exist. But here's the truth: no one is perfect. The Stoics embraced the idea that we're all works in progress. Instead of striving for perfection, they focused on growth. When you accept yourself as you are, flaws and all, you free yourself from the constant need to prove your worth. You begin to realize that confidence doesn't come from being flawless, it comes from being comfortable with who you are. One of the most underrated ways to cultivate inner peace is through stillness. We live in a world that's constantly demanding our attention, pulling us in 100 directions at once, but the Stoics understood the power of quiet moments. They believed that stillness wasn't just the absence of noise, it was the presence of clarity. When you take time to be still, whether through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence, you create space to reconnect with yourself. That space is where inner peace grows. I've also learned that part of cultivating inner peace is setting boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. It's about knowing when to say no, not out of anger or defensiveness, but out of self-respect. It's about recognizing when you're spreading yourself too thin and giving yourself permission to step back. Boundaries aren't walls, they're invitations for others to meet you where you're at. And when you set them with confidence, they create a ripple effect of respect, both from others and within yourself. Gratitude is another cornerstone of inner peace. It's easy to get caught up in what's missing, what's going wrong, or what could be better. But the Stoics taught me to focus on what's already here. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means finding the good, even in difficult moments. When you cultivate gratitude, you shift your perspective. You start to see that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create. The beauty of inner peace is that it doesn't just benefit you, it impacts everyone around you. When you're calm and centered, you become a source of stability for others. People are drawn to that energy because it's rare, refreshing, and grounding. You don't need to announce your peace. It shows in your actions, your words, and even in your silence. It's the kind of confidence that can't be faked because it's built on a solid foundation of self-awareness and self-mastery. What I love most about this journey is that it's ongoing. Inner peace isn't something you achieve once and then forget about. It's something you cultivate every day. Each moment is an opportunity to choose calm over chaos, reflection over reaction, and growth over stagnation. And with each choice, you become a little stronger, a little clearer, a little more at peace. When you radiate this silent confidence, you don't need to chase attention or seek approval. Your energy speaks for itself. People notice, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've become someone who stands out effortlessly. And that kind of presence, grounded in inner peace, is truly irresistible. Let's take this one step further. When you radiate inner peace, you naturally exude a quiet confidence that draws people in. But there's another element that deepens this effect, a sense of mystery. The kind of mystery that doesn't come from playing games or putting on a facade, but from being intentional about what you choose to share and what you choose to hold back. I've learned through my own experiences that one of the most compelling ways to connect with others is to let them discover you gradually, piece by piece. When you master this, your presence becomes unforgettable. There's an elegance in not laying everything out at once. It's not about secrecy or being distant. It's about honoring the parts of yourself that deserve time to be revealed. Think about the people who've left a lasting impression on you. Chances are, they didn't overwhelm you with every detail of their lives the first time you met. Instead, They shared enough to spark curiosity while leaving room for you to wonder, to want to know more. That intrigue is magnetic, and it's something you can cultivate by practicing Stoic restraint. I used to feel like I had to explain myself constantly, as if giving every detail of my life would make people understand me better or like me more. But what I found was the opposite. Oversharing didn't create connection, it diluted it. There was no room left for curiosity or discovery. When I started holding back, not out of fear but out of intention, something shifted. People leaned in. They wanted to know more, and that space I created allowed for deeper, more meaningful interactions. The key to fostering this kind of mystery is authenticity. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not or withholding out of insecurity. It's about being genuine while recognizing that not everything about you needs to be shared immediately. Stoic wisdom teaches us the value of restraint, not as a tool for manipulation, but as a way to maintain balance and self-respect. By sharing thoughtfully, you signal to others that your inner world is something to be earned, not something to be given away freely. I've found that this approach not only builds intrigue, but also strengthens relationships. When you share selectively, each piece of yourself that you reveal becomes more meaningful. It's like opening a book one chapter at a time, allowing the story to unfold naturally. People don't need to know every detail of your past, every thought in your head, or every plan for your future to connect with you. Sometimes, what you don't say speaks louder than what you do. Another layer to this is how you carry yourself. Mystery isn't just about words, it's about energy. When you walk into a room with quiet confidence, when you don't feel the need to fill every silence or justify every action people notice, they sense that there's more to you than meets the eye, and that creates a kind of magnetism that can't be faked. It's not about being aloof, it's about being intentional. When you know your worth, you don't need to prove it. That unspoken confidence is what leaves people wanting more. One of the most profound lessons I've learned is that mystery isn't about withholding for the sake of control. It's about creating depth. It's about inviting others into your world gradually, giving them the space to appreciate the layers of who you are. This approach isn't just more authentic, it's more sustainable. Relationships built on curiosity and discovery have a foundation of mutual respect and intrigue that keeps them alive and meaningful. What I love about this mindset is that it takes the pressure off. You don't have to overperform or overshare to be seen or appreciated. You simply have to be yourself, mindfully, intentionally, and with an understanding that the most valuable things in life take time to unfold. When you embrace this, you'll find that people are drawn to you not because you've forced their attention, but because you've invited it in the most natural way. That's the power of mystery. It's subtle, it's graceful, and it's unforgettable. When you cultivate a sense of mystery, you create curiosity and draw people in naturally. But mystery alone isn't enough to leave a lasting impression. It's the quality of your presence, the depth of your engagement, that truly makes connections unforgettable. The way you show up in someone's life, even in small moments, determines how deeply they feel your absence later. I've come to understand that intentional presence is the secret ingredient to building relationships that stick with people long after you're gone. Intentional presence isn't about grand gestures or over-the-top performances. It's about mindfulness. It's about being fully there when you're with someone, giving them your undivided attention and making them feel seen and valued. Too often, we're physically present, but mentally somewhere else, checking our phones, distracted by our thoughts, or thinking about what we're going to say next. I've been guilty of this myself, and I've seen how it can dilute even the most important interactions. But when you bring your full focus to a conversation, everything changes. There's something incredibly powerful about truly listening to someone. Not listening to respond or to fix their problem, but listening just to understand. When you do this, people feel it. They feel heard in a way that's rare in today's fast-paced, distracted world. I've learned that this kind of listening doesn't just deepen connections, it creates moments that stay with people. They might not remember every word you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Stoicism teaches us to live in the present moment, and this philosophy is a game changer for building connections. When you're present with someone, you're not dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. You're fully there, sharing that moment with them. And because you're grounded in the present, your energy becomes steady and calming. People are naturally drawn to that kind of energy because it makes them feel safe and valued. It's not about saying the perfect thing. It's about showing up with intention and sincerity. I've seen how this works even in the smallest interactions. Whether it's a quick chat with a friend or a deeper conversation with someone you care about, the way you show up matters. If you're distracted or half-hearted, the connection feels shallow and forgettable. But when you're fully present, even a brief encounter can leave a lasting impression. It's not about the quantity of time you spend, it's about the quality. A few minutes of genuine presence can mean more than hours of distracted engagement. This kind of presence requires practice. It means putting your phone down, setting aside distractions, and focusing entirely on the person in front of you. It means being curious about their thoughts and feelings, asking questions that show you care, and responding with empathy. When you do this, you create a sense of connection that lingers. People remember the way you made them feel valued, and that memory becomes tied to your presence. Intentional presence also requires self-awareness. You need to be mindful of the energy you bring into a conversation. Are you calm and centered, or are you carrying stress and frustration that could unintentionally affect the interaction? I've learned that taking a moment to center myself before an important conversation can make a huge difference. When you bring a clear, calm energy to an interaction, it sets the tone and creates a space where meaningful connection can happen. What's fascinating about this approach is how it impacts both you and the other person. When you're fully present, you're not just creating a meaningful experience for them, you're also enriching your own life. You're engaging deeply with the moment, which makes it more fulfilling and memorable for you too. I've found that the more I practice intentional presence, the more rewarding my relationships become. It's a win-win. When you make a habit of showing up this way, your absence becomes more noticeable. People miss the way you made them feel, valued, understood, and important. They remember your energy, your attention, and the depth of your connection. And that's what makes your presence unforgettable. It's not about doing more or being more, it's about showing up fully, even in the simplest moments. This is how you build connections that truly matter. When you master the art of being intentionally present, you create unforgettable connections. But here's something I've learned. Presence alone is not enough. Just as light and shadow work together to create depth in a picture, closeness and distance must balance each other to make relationships meaningful. This is where the power of strategic withdrawal comes into play. Stepping back isn't about abandonment or manipulation. It's about allowing space for appreciation to grow. It's about trusting that sometimes less is more. I've experienced this firsthand. There were times when I thought constantly being available was the best way to strengthen a connection. I believed that by always being there, I was showing care and commitment. But what I didn't realize was that by never stepping back, I wasn't giving others the chance to reflect on what I brought to their lives. It wasn't until I started creating space, pulling back thoughtfully and with intention, that I saw a shift. People began to notice my absence, and when I returned, my presence felt more meaningful. Strategic withdrawal isn't about being cold or distant. It's about creating a natural rhythm between closeness and space. When you're always present, the relationship can start to feel predictable, even stagnant. But when you step back gracefully, you introduce a sense of anticipation. That space gives others the opportunity to reflect on what they value about you, and it deepens their desire to reconnect. One of the most profound lessons I've learned through Stoicism is that control is not about force. It's about flow. When you withdraw strategically, you're not trying to force someone to miss you. You're simply allowing the natural dynamic of appreciation to unfold. It's like planting a seed. You don't tug on it to make it grow. You step back, let it take root, and trust the process. This trust is powerful. It shows that you're secure in your own worth and confident enough to let others come to you in their own time. Stepping back also gives you the space to focus on yourself. It's a chance to recharge, reflect, and realign with your values. In relationships, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs when you're constantly giving. Withdrawal allows you to reconnect with yourself, which makes your eventual return even stronger. You're showing up not out of obligation, but with renewed energy and intention. What's remarkable about strategic withdrawal is how it shifts the dynamic without words. When you step back, you're communicating that your time and presence are valuable. You're not chasing or overextending. You're allowing others to choose to reach out, to bridge the gap you've left. And when they do, it's a powerful affirmation of your importance in their lives. The beauty of this practice is that it applies to all relationships, romantic, platonic, even professional. By stepping back at the right moments, you create a sense of balance that fosters mutual respect and appreciation. It's not about pulling away to create longing, it's about allowing space for growth. Relationships thrive when both people have the room to breathe, to reflect, and to recognize the unique value they bring to each other. This isn't always easy. There's a vulnerability in stepping back, especially if you fear being forgotten or misunderstood. But that's where the wisdom of Stoicism comes in. It teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own actions and mindset, rather than trying to control how others respond. When you withdraw strategically, you're exercising that wisdom. You're showing strength in restraint and trust in the process. Over time, I've seen how this approach transforms relationships. The space you create isn't empty. It's filled with meaning. It allows for reflection, growth, and a deeper appreciation of the connection you share. And when you step back with grace, you're not just fostering longing, you're building respect. You're creating a dynamic where your presence feels like a gift, not a given. That's the art of strategic withdrawal. It's subtle, it's powerful, and it's one of the most effective ways to deepen the bonds that truly matter. So, there you have it. The art of making someone miss you without saying a word isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about becoming someone worth missing. It's about mastering your inner world, radiating silent confidence, creating meaningful moments through intentional presence, and embracing the wisdom of strategic withdrawal. Each of these steps is rooted in the timeless teachings of Stoicism, guiding us to find strength in restraint, depth in connection, and value in our own energy. What I've shared today isn't just theory. It's something I've practiced, stumbled through, and grown from. I've seen how these principles transform not just relationships, but how people perceive you and how you perceive yourself. When you learn to value your presence, trust me, others will too. The space you create and the energy you bring speak louder than words ever could. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one takeaway from today that really resonated with you? Or maybe there's a situation in your life where you're trying to create that kind of impact. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your stories. And if you found this helpful, let's keep growing together. Hit that subscribe button so we can explore more ways to elevate your mindset, master your relationships, and live with purpose. Together, we're creating a community of people who show up with strength, clarity, and intention. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.